General Licensing Committee. I'm Councillor Ali Gordon-Creed and I will be chairing this meeting. Two housekeeping announcements. Evacuation procedure. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate the building by the nearest exit, which is in the corridor immediately to the right of the meeting room, and stand at assembly point 9 in the outside area beyond the fire exit. The Democratic Services officer present will assist you. On arriving at this meeting, you should have read the emergency evacuation procedure and signed the fire register. Please inform the Democratic Services officer if you have not. And please can everyone ensure that their mobile phones and any other devices are switched to silent during the meeting. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillors Joe Robb and Catherine Keatsworth.
Thank you. The minutes, the committee's asked to adopt and agree for me to sign as a correct record the minutes of the committee meeting on the 21st of May 2026. If you've all received a copy and reviewed, please could I have a proposer to adopt them as a correct record? Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. And a seconder.
I don't know questions.
Yeah. All in favour? Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests and any conflicts of interest in respect of items on the agenda for this meeting? I see none. Any urgent business? No. So, welcome to Raleigh Hallock, Chairman of the South and Vale Taxi Drivers Association, who is registered to speak today. You have 15 minutes to present to committee, after which members may ask clarification questions.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair and Committee. We're here to discuss the policy, the taxi drivers policy. Unfortunately, communication between ourselves and licensing is or was minimal, to say the least. Even though committee did ask the licensing to be more engaging with the trade. We did have a meeting prior to the policy being told that it was going to be dealt with. We then got an email saying we've got an appointment on this date, which unfortunately my vice chairman, who was supposed to be here, unfortunately had to go off, and I weren't able to attend. We suggested a replacement date. We were told we'll look into that, and that's the last we heard of it until the policy was then notified that it was being sent out for consultation, which unfortunately meant that our comments weren't able to be made at the time prior to that. This was back in October/November. We had a consultation in January, which went for 6 weeks, and we then did, and I've given to your colleagues a brief of what we had on the time from. Some of the numbers don't match, unfortunately, but there's not what we can do about it. It was then put out in consultation for the members to respond, and hopefully quite a few of them used what we suggested after talking to the members as notification of things that we would like to be addressed, but unfortunately it looks as if 99.9% of it hasn't. In ranging from, we've suggested that on private hire vehicles, they should have a sign on the side of their vehicle saying private hire, clearly designed. A Hackney carriage has to have a top light. If he doesn't have a top light, the council is very happy to penalise us for it. But we're finding, and because the number of Hackneys are dropping, the private hire vehicles are floating around the ranks and not sitting on the rank, but looking at the customers saying, do you want to, and because it's got a plate on the back of it, the general public thinks, oh, it's a taxi, yeah, we can get in and do it. Whereas if you had the signs on the side of it, it would certainly have made things a lot easier for it to be discerned that it's not a Hackney carriage, and they do not have the right to pick up unless it's a free book booking. there are other things that one of the point system we feel is at times difficult to say the least. For one instance, a driver was going to a compliance. He had the vehicle checked before he left. Was driving to the compliance, hit a pothole, damaged the inside of the wheel of the tyre. Got to the compliance officer said, "Sorry, mate, you got a tyre damage." And council then went, "Oh, you got tyre damage, have 8 points," which is not fair. Unless you're climbing under the car at 5 in the morning to check your vehicle to see if there are any tyre damage, it's very difficult to do that. We need a bit more understanding, and using the compliance centre as a way of whacking a stick at us driving, I feel is unfair. But obviously there might be other considerations with regards to that driver. So, but it's something that's been brought up. Another one was where a driver had been suspended in previous. He approached the council and said, "Can I put it? Is it worth me putting it in?" And they went, "Oh yeah, go ahead and do it." So he spent out for the license, the medical, all the other stuff, which comes to near on £700 to £1,000, £700 to £1,000. Came to the committee, said, "Where's all my stuff? I've done as you said." And they went, "Nah, you can't have it." It would be better and fairer if they had turned around and said, "Sorry, mate, you're not going to get it now. Come back in 3 years' time and we'll relook at it," or whatever. It is this lack of communication that we feel is hurting the trade. We want to work with licensing to get the best results, and the safety. Our concern, as is licensing, our concern is the safety of customers that's out there. You go out in, say, Wantage or what have you, late at night. There's not a Hackney there at all. They don't put them. We're not being put out. Now, I know this is south, but I'm just using it as an example. The Hackney drivers are not being going out because they're not able to earn sufficient from what is being done, and because there's that breakdown of communication between ourselves and licensing, it's hurting us. And we really would like to ask the committee to yet again request, instruct licensing to actually talk to us in a more positive manner rather than combative manner, so that we can work together to avoid this, where we've come to, there's a document in front of us, there are things in there that we say, look, there are problems with, and because it's not been done prior to that, we are being steamrolled and have to say, you've got to accept that. So whether the committee will ask for these comments that we've made to be looked at before it's implemented, which we would respectfully request, we really do need to get this, because this is going to be here. Usually these policies are in there for 5 years. So we're stuck with this for 5 years, and our hands tied behind our back. So if the committee can take into consideration that and help us to help the trade, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Few questions with us first. Yes. So does anyone have any questions?
Just the first point you brought up with unfortunate accident and the wheel being damaged and then being presented for assessment. Do you think it's unfair for those who assess it to have said, no, we rejected it because it was damaged?
No, I'm not saying that. The assessment was correct, that the damage was done to the tyre. Unfortunately, it was en route to the assessment centre. That's not what we can do that. But for then, he went away, got the tyre done, replaced, and was back within 24 hours. The vehicle was off the road until he brought it back. But because there was damage on it, he got hit, license, he went, oh, you got damage on that, there, that's for 8 points. And I think that is punitive. We've got to have a bit more leeway and understanding and say, okay, you got damage, have you done, you know, okay, well, be careful next time. We appreciate the state of the roads. These things happen. But it's the understanding. Now, obviously, if there were other things that related to it, then obviously we can understand that. But I think on that, it's very difficult to say, because he was able to prove to me, because I went and had to look at it, spoke to the mechanic, and I checked it before he went out the door.
Okay, thank you.
Got a couple of questions. First, I just want to thank you for coming and,
Okay, so
and speaking to us. I'm just wondering, I'll pick up first on my question really off the back of that last one. So what particular point in the policy, when you're talking about these issues like you just have done, are you referring to?
Right.
Did you feed that into the consultation?
We put on the consultation, we said the penalty points review needed to be reviewed. It's item on the Appendix G, item 17. Illegal task, construction, use or defence of vehicle defects. That was hit. He was hit with an 8 point against his taxi license.
So you have fed that into the consultation.
What we've had to do, because of the timescale, we put in that this needs to the penalty point system needs to be reviewed, because we think there are certain others that that need to be looked at. But again, it's because of the lack of communication. And
I'll pick up on the communication with officers, because I've heard your side of it, and I'll pick when it comes to questions for the officers. I'll pick that side. But
we did state in the
it does take two to tango with communication, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, this is that I'm not only the chairman of the association, I'm also the emergency response driver of the club.
Yeah.
So I've got a full-time job there, and I'm trying to do this and do the things with it. So we are trying to interlink it.
And I've got one final question, which is how many members do you have in the
well, I mean, we represent
Taxi Drivers Association?
Anybody that holds a Hackney and private hire license badge, all operators. So I talk to all of them, and I'm not really using factor figures and numbers, but if a driver has a issue, they come to us and we will deal with it, and have done on behalf. Actually, for one of the enforcement officers said, "Look, we've got a driver here, could really deal with talking to you."
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. One, I just wanted to clarify the point you made, because the policy dictates now that nobody can go, excuse me, do you want to ride? You know, that's wherever.
Something, yeah.
That's in place. But what I heard you say is that you would like some signage to distinguish the private hire, or because I have seen cars that say pre-book hire only, very clearly displayed.
In other operating areas, they do.
Yeah. So is that what you're requesting?
Yeah,
something to distinguish that from the Hackney?
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, with the Hackney, you have your plate on the back. Private house has a plate on the back, but the Hackney has a roof light, or if it's a London cab, it's built in on the top there. You can discern that is a Hackney carriage vehicle, whereas with a private hire, all you have is the plate on the back, not a name of a company, but you don't have anything that discerns it to be there. And at least if you see somebody loitering, shall we say, and not upwards, but look, you know, when you look at somebody to say, do you want something? If it's got private hire on the side of the vehicle, you can discern that that is not a Hackney vehicle and it should not be picking up. And it would give the enforcement officers a better chance of saying, what are you doing? Because it's clearly the sign.
So that's a question that I would have for our officers as to whether that's in our remit or not. But I take your point on that one. And the other point that I heard you request, it sounded like almost a wish in the compliance area. So if somebody's applying for, reapplying or applying, they almost have a pre-application process.
On to that case, that gentleman had been suspended, revoked license for an offence. All right. There were other things with it, and council quite correctly revoked it. He would contact the council and said, "Look, I'm looking to reapply. Should I apply?" And they said, "Yeah, go ahead." He should have. I don't know whether he did. I've got limited information, but from what I gather, he should have said to him, "I've had this. Is it worth me reapplying?"
But that may have been a communication issue on either side.
Agreed. But then he was told, yes, go ahead. He then forked out all that money for it, which we do to become a taxi driver, and then turned around and say, sorry, you can't have it, which is a bit painful.
Any other questions?
I was going to ask the same about that application process, and I'm trying to understand what exactly you want out of it. And I think Councillor Gordon-Creed was sort of saying about pre-application.
On something like that, yes, I think that it is worth, the driver communicating with licensing, but the problem is getting a response from licensing. You try ringing them, you get an answer phone message. Beforehand, licensing, you can ring up and say, Richard, what do I do with it? Is it worth me doing this or that? Laura, what do I do with this? What have you? You had that. Then we hit COVID and everything went AWOL. And now you can't do it. I mean, taking it to get a license through South is a long-winded process. Yet with Wolverhampton, and I know it's a lot larger than we are, but they can turn that application around in 2 weeks, assuming that you've got the DBS all in place. So we'll say, if we had a proper communication, we could possibly expedite that and have a better working relationship so that this type of incident with this other driver wouldn't happen. He can say, look, I've got this. Is it worth me doing it? Okay.
But I think the problem is that even if you were given a pre-app, and it looks like it's likely to result in a successful application, the whole point about an application process is that
I would agree.
Ultimately, they can still say no, can't they?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I mean, I looked at what I was put in front of me, and there's no way I would have said yes.
Right, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing was that he contacted licensing to ask them about it, and he said, "Yeah, go ahead and do it."
Yeah.
And that way, I wouldn't. And I support licensing for them not to give that driver the badge. Totally support them. We work with licensing to do it. That's why I mentioned about the pre-book bookings. I don't want private hire people taking happy things. I want to give the council every opportunity to have the easy way to enforce it so that the trade and the general public are kept safe and sound.
Yeah.
Another question. So we are recommended to consider the results of the consultation at Appendix A and subject to any further amendments, which I think our officer is going to report on now.
Do we have questions for?
Yeah.
And so, thank you, Chairman. This report brings before you the final draft of our revised joint taxi policy consideration for adoption. And this follows the consultation on the draft which you reviewed in January. And as the report outlines, the consultation ran for 7 weeks. It was sent to all licence holders, neighbouring local authorities and the police, and all those registered on our corporate consultation database. We had 131 respondents complete the survey, roughly half being trade and half being members of the public. And of those respondents, 107 provided at least one qualitative comment for consideration. It was noted that 45 of the responses were either identical or very similar. I believe the South and Vale Taxi Drivers Association provided a draft template response used by their members or people who wanted to support the association. And the survey that we did was split into 3 sections. There were proposed changes specific to South and Vale. There were changes from the Department for Transport best practice guidance, and there were amendments which relate to changes we've already made to how we work and guidance on existing legislation. In respect of those Department for Transport changes, the consultation made it very clear that respondents need to focus their comments on any compelling local reasons why we should digress from best practice guidance. And the report outlines how many responses were received on each of the 3 sections. And in addition, we added an other comment section of the report to collate those comments that didn't relate to anything to do with the policy. Some of those matters have been noted for the next time we review the policy in much the same way as the digital payments item was put on in the policy this time. That was something that was raised during the last consultation in 2021. And as a result of the comments received during the consultation, we made a couple of additional changes to the policy as highlighted in paragraph 8 in respect of some guidance around payments and clarity on vehicles which are exempt from negative windows. And as noted in paragraph 9, there were a number of comments about the proposal to extend the target date for licensed vehicles to achieve net zero from 2030 to 2045. We have retained this proposal in the final policy because it aligns with net zero targets adopted by both councils, but of course can further amend the policy in respect of that criterion that considers that appropriate. We're of the view the proposed policy strikes a balance between protection of the public, the need to meet our safeguarding responsibilities, our corporate priorities, and it allows reasonable time to phase in some of those changes for existing licence holders. And we will be sending guidance through on the changes to the trade by newsletter once that new policy is published. There is one proposed amendment to the policy, which has been added to the report after the report's drafted. This comes as a recent liaison with other of Oxfordshire authorities. We'd like to put an extra line at the end of existing condition 4 to state that drivers must inform the police they are a licensed driver when they're arrested or interviewed under caution. That will assist the police in ensuring they're able to share information with us in a timely and appropriate manner and ensure we're consistent with our neighbouring authorities. And just be very clear and upfront, that wasn't included in the consultation, but obviously don't feel it's particularly controversial or onerous. So we're proposing that to add. I don't have anything further to add. I'm happy to take any questions.
That last one is future briefing for which London will be happening in terms of organisation anyway. So yeah,
we do try to be consistent with neighbouring authorities. It makes it easier for those members of the trade that are licensed in more than one area as well. So which is already the case.
I have a question. So in relation to the 2-week turnaround that was mentioned for Wolverhampton, can you just give some background as to why that?
Yeah, Wolverhampton's a very big authority. They've got tens of thousands. I'm sure you've seen it in the press. That as a result of having a lot of applicants, they have a lot more money. And they were able to get a great online system. It's fantastic. Their online systems are spectacular. Sadly, we are not quite in the same boat. We're in the boat of people having to print off a form, write it, take photos of the pages and send it to us. It's not great. I fully accept that. It'd be lovely to have an all singing, all dancing online system. I don't disagree with the trade at all. However, we've got to be realistic in respect.
Scale, really. It's the scale.
It's the scale. We could invest in it if the money was there, but given what's coming in the next couple of years, I'm not necessarily sure that would be the best idea. I did attend a meeting last week where the government did a presentation on what they're trying to do in respect to online forms, and touch wood, it looks good. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to get a free solution from central government. Now, I can't make any promises, but that's probably the best.
And turnaround times, though, what?
The turnaround times, we aim to start processing applications within 4 weeks of receipt. That's why we're very clear on our website as to how early people should be renewing their licences. We are well within that at present, well within it. We also sort of prioritise the important applications, like if somebody's had a crash in their car and they need to get another car on the road, we will turn that around quicker. That will definitely be done in a week. So we try to prioritise as best we can. But it's challenging when you are getting through application forms that people miss questions and then you have to send it back and say, I'm really sorry, you have to put in the answers that you've missed.
So actually, although you can't match the two leads. Well, you might get to in some cases, but actually, it's all done within 4 weeks regularly.
We aim to start processing it, then it will just depend on whether we need to get extra information from the police if there are problems in the history. It will depend, but yeah, a vehicle was certainly done well within 4 weeks. The drivers are a lot more involved in a driver license nowadays than it used to be. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, communication was very clear and there's a message from Stark. So I just wanted to ask officers for you to take us through the communication you had with Saturday.
yeah, sure, not a problem. I can do that.
Taxi Drivers Association.
So we originally emailed them on the 25th of September with a summary of proposed changes. That was sort of our first starting point. These are the things we're thinking of doing. And we suggested a couple of dates where we could meet with them to discuss those and then go through any additional changes they want to propose so that we take it into account. So we met them on the 8th of October. I emailed them later the same day with some background links as a result of stuff that had come up during their conversation. And we asked for any additional proposals to be submitted by the 24th of October so that we could incorporate any within our draft policy, because obviously then it had to start going through the reports system for your meeting in January. So that's the starts of way beforehand. We did sort of suggest, yes, hopefully we can have a further meeting. We couldn't make that work on their timescales, unfortunately. I think they suggested meeting the first week of December. It would already have started going through the process by that point. Obviously, the consultation team were also building the survey for the actual consultation itself.
Just following on from that, so 25th of September was a document shared then, or some early stage document?
It was the changes document.
It was shared prior to that meeting so we could discuss it.
Oh, okay.
It was, it was, so it was emailed on the
25th of September.
And so was it discussed at that meeting on the 8th of October?
That was what that meeting was about, yes. We ran through the changes that we were proposing.
I think it was challenging because I'm not sure that Mr. Hullock or Mr. Appleton sort of had a great deal of time to go through it, unfortunately. So I don't know. And that's why we sort of said, let's give us a few more weeks and come back to us.
Yeah, I mean, we did get that and we were starting to go through it, but obviously I suffer from dyslexia, so does Jason. So our means of communication is usually face to face, so as we can thrash it out verbally until we get the right result. Yes, we did give you another date. Unbeknownst to, I didn't realise things had already rolled past that and we couldn't do it. But we didn't get any response to it. So it was just like we were left in limbo. The next thing we had was the communication where it said, here's the consultation.
We did I emailed you on the 10th of December to sort of go through where we got to. I explained about sort of writing further to email the 25th of September. We asked for your comments by the 24th of October. So we're now progressing with finalising the policy. The consultation will start in the second half of January again, so you could prompt your members to keep an eye out for the consultation. So I would not necessarily agree that we haven't attempted to communicate with you.
And I think because we didn't receive any comments from you by the 24th of October as we requested, there was nothing then to we felt there was nothing really to discuss in the further meeting, because that's what that second meeting was due to be about, was to discuss the proposal that you put forward. So kind of
as an example, the signage on private hire vehicles might have been something you'd have put in. I don't think officers would have objected to that. I think we might have put it within the consultation, but the reason why we've not put it into the final version is because there's not been consultation on that proposal with the private hire trade. So they haven't had a chance to say, actually, no, we don't want those stickers. Or we do want those stickers. We don't know. We haven't asked them.
yes, and obviously there would be an additional cost to them. But
yeah.
So in terms of, sorry, can I ask another question? So in terms of the importance of the consultation for something like that could have been done, that would have reached people, you're saying it would have reached drivers that wouldn't have been reached within
The association.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just wanting to acknowledge that for you, it would have been very helpful to have a phone call or a face-to-face or some kind of that your best way of digesting it's not words on paper. So I do I don't know that we can.
No, I understand that, but this is what I'm saying is we need to have a better way of liaising rather than just emails, because when I'm on doing the response driving, I have to focus on that tightly. And then, I mean, when we had 5 days to go through the release document, because I didn't know what was put on it, we had 5 days in which to go through it. And I was up to 3:30 in the morning on 2 nights going through it to try to decipher what was from the old one, what's on the new one, and then get it prepared to come and be able to talk to and address this committee.
It's a long question, because I'm still trying to clarify this on my head. But on the 8th of October, you did have a meeting, verbal meeting.
Yes.
And you did have a communication then with the draft document.
They have the summary of changes that we sent
Summary
out
of changes,
weeks
yeah.
before.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Can I ask about the process of this amendment that can't go in now, but that possibly could, that again, it would require a whole other consultation.
Yeah.
It's a process,
Yeah.
so it can't go now.
So all those things that have been suggested that we're happy to put this forward. We'll have to harmonise with whoever we join up with in due course.
Yeah.
They may already have a policy in respect of signage on private hire vehicles that we would then bring to you and bring to whoever's members at that point, and then that would that's the whole point of harmonisation. We could test parts of all the policies to do.
Any other questions or clarifications wanted, needed from anyone?
Mr. Point raised the issue. I think I've mentioned it twice about this driver who turns up for examination, the defective tyre.
I don't know about that case. I'm just going to defer to Diane because Diane goes with the appeals against points. I'm not sure.
I don't know the details. Yeah.
So if you're
into the policy, does it come into
it says the 8, you do get 8 points if you have a faulty tyre. That was something that used to be 6 points and was put up, I believe, in 2021 because we identified illegal tyres as being a significant problem at that time. So the level of penalty point was actually increased to 8.
Yeah.
But where it comes down to sort of an individual thing, if somebody feels individual points allocated are unfair, they have the right to appeal to Diane. That's why I was wondering whether Diane.
There was the right to appeal.
Yes, there is the right to appeal. Yes, yeah. So I would recommend we keep the points for an illegal tyre because they are obviously the point of contact with the road for a car. That is very important, and I appreciate that sometimes if you do go through a pothole that can damage the tyre, but fully accept that. But without knowing,
we would look at each case on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
So there would be leeway and there would be a process of appeal.
Yes. Yeah.
Were you aware of that, Sally?
Yes, I was aware of that, but the thing is what we felt is that it was punitive because you could see it was on the inside. The driver would not have been able to tell. And the testing centre obviously went back into and said there's a defective inside of the tyre. Because unless you climb underneath a vehicle to look at and spin the wheel.
I agree with all of that.
But the thing is that we felt that they're using the testing centres as a way of putting points on the drivers. Well, that's the perception that drivers are coming across with. So obviously, I'm trying to portray that across to you. I agree, I understand that it is hellishly important that the enforcement is there, but to be moderated so that it is fair on both sides.
So I think it sounds the appeal process presumably would.
He did put in an appeal and what have you, but there were other mitigating factors that.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions
for the officer?
For the officers? Any other questions for the officers? I see none. So this committee is recommended to consider the results of the consultation at Appendix A and subject to any further amendments which we have heard, approve the adoption of the joint taxi licensing policy at Appendix B. So please may I have a proposal? Simpson and the second, thank you, Master Valianti. All in favour? That is unanimous, and I hereby close this meeting up to whatever time it is. 6:35. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And Larry, please could you stop the broadcast?